Hello, Kristin Larsen, Transformational Health Coaching. Thank you so much for being here, if you're watching. This is part 4 of 5 of the Letting Go series, and the topic for today that I'll be discussing is forgiveness. And before I start discussing this topic, if we can just create a space right now and take a moment, and I will let you know that I'm present with you right now and that there's no judgment here as I'm discussing this topic. So if you feel that you want to interact, leave comments, feel free to do that, and know that there's no judgment here. So before I start, I'd like to set the space with just a grounding exercise by just breathing in so that we're all present. And I will start. And just by having a few deep breaths, that allows us to be present right now as I'm present with you and as I'm discussing this topic of forgiveness. And I will just say that in the middle of my discussion, there will be probably a little surprise that I have, which I haven't mentioned yet. And I will mention that as this discussion is going on. So in our past sessions, we discussed many different topics that we would most likely like to let go of, and I've discussed my struggles with those topics. And so when we start discussing the topic of forgiveness, it's one of those things that if we look at it in terms of black and white, it's either to forgive or not to forgive. But as complex as we are as human beings, it turns into a complexity of decisions that we go through in order to make that final decision whether or not we want to let go. So what we do is we kind of rationalize. We feel we need to rationalize, and rightly so, depending on what it is that we're wanting to forgive. So when we go through rationalizing if we want to forgive or not, it's not forgiving so much the person, maybe. It's forgiving the attachment that we have to a thought or a feeling that was caused by a situation that we felt harmed physically or emotionally. So if we're able to release the attachment that we have to that feeling or that thought, then essentially we're forgiving. And like I said, the challenge is that we go through, it's a process, because we go through the process of rationalizing if we can allow ourselves to forgive. And usually there's 3 things that are affected when it comes down to making that decision if we want to forgive. And that's when it affects love, safety, or belonging in our life. If we're betrayed, or if someone says something very, very hurtful to us, then we have to rationalize if that's something that we can find it within ourselves to forgive, and even forgive that person. It's almost like it's a defense mechanism that we have to basically keep us safe. And so if we look at how can we navigate through this process in order to forgive someone, and I don't think there's any right answer, because it all depends on the person and what we're facing, what we're looking at forgiving. But I know for myself, what I did, I've tried to look at it through the point of view of empathy. So looking at the other person that I feel has did something that I need to forgive, looking at it from their point of view, like what are they going through? And when I start to look at it from that point of view, it doesn't mean that I'm condoning the action or whatever was done. Doesn't mean that I'm admitting that it's right, but it helps me to, I guess, get a human sense of what was going on, and it helps me to navigate through that process of letting go and to be able to forgive and to let go of that thought or that feeling that's always coming up that I'm holding on to. And just, I guess, knowing that, accepting that whatever happened happened, it can't be changed, and the only other choice is to move on from that. And that's what the challenge is, to figure out how to move on from that. So in order to move on from that, we have to start changing the story around whatever it was that caused this hurt, and kind of realizing or accepting and acknowledging that we're no longer the victim, and looking at a way that we can reframe it so that we're stronger from that experience. And depending on what it is, obviously it's very difficult to do that. But if we look at it and reframe it to looking at it from a point of view, how can this make us stronger? And especially, I've discussed starting off with releasing any shame or guilt. And usually there's two things that we want to forgive. Either it's another person or it's ourselves. And for me, it was a long road to forgive myself when I was going through some mental struggles in my life. I would always have shame or guilt associated with that, and I would basically be punishing myself because I wasn't being the person that I wanted to be. I wasn't showing up as the person I wanted to be in my life. So I had a lot of shame around that, and I eventually got to the point where I realized that in order to let go and to forgive, I needed to have self-compassion and to forgive myself for that. So when I went through these experiences, how I became stronger because of it was that after I was able to forgive myself, I realized certain things that were preventing me from moving forward in my life, specifically with judgments. And when I was able to realize that and let go of that, it allowed me to connect with myself, and it allowed me to connect with others on a way deeper level than I've ever experienced in my life. So if we look at forgiveness, and it's a process, if we look at it in regards to what's one small thing that we can look to forgive each day to move us closer to letting go of forgiveness. If it's something that we're holding on to very tightly because of whatever the experience was. Because with forgiveness, what is it that we want? When we're looking to forgive, to move on, what is it that we want? We want freedom. We don't want the attachment. Because what's that causing when we're holding on to, I guess, not being able to forgive and not being able to let go? We're holding on to resentment. We're holding on to a lot of emotions that, or thoughts that are most likely impacting our life in some way, and they're holding us back from being our authentic self. I think that's what we all truly want, is to be our authentic self and to live and thrive in the way that we want every single day. So if forgiveness is a process and we need to go through it in our own way, and just acknowledge and be aware and accept that whatever happened, and try and take steps, small steps each day to work towards forgiving and trying to release the attachment that we have to that thought or that emotion. And I'd like to share something. I'd like to be vulnerable and share the things that I've let go of over the past 5 years. And it's been a lot of letting go. And when you begin to let go, it gets so much easier each time. And I'll just share, when we let go, we need to replace it with something else that serves us, that's empowering. So I'll share my scroll list of things that I've decided to let go of over the past 5 years, in hopes that it will inspire you, if you're watching, to have courage to be able to let go. So I realize I need to let go of my mental struggle around suffering in my head, my constant self-doubt and constant worry that I had every day, my insecurity of not being enough physically or mentally, which was always brought on by not being able to connect to myself, not being able to connect with myself, not being able to connect with others, my comparing how other people were in their lives to how I was living in my life, and why I couldn't live up to that, or be close to what they were experiencing in their life. I had to let go of my doubt of purpose in my life, meaning that I felt like I didn't have purpose in my life, but realizing later that it's part of the journey of discovering. And I'm in that point now where I'm in where I want to be. I'm in that point in my life where I want to be. Releasing not good enough father, husband, son, brother, grandson, friend. Going through my struggles, always questioning my worthiness of being a person, basically, to all these people. Not thinking or feeling worthy to live a life that makes me happy. Not being able to create the life I want financially. Not being my authentic self every day. Not expressing myself in the way that I want. Not having a voice. Not being able to do more with passion in life. Regret from past, worry for future. Who I wanted to be in the past. Shame for not knowing who I was or where I fit into the world. Hiding in my life. Afraid to be seen and heard. Feeling and thinking there's something wrong with me, or that I'm broken. Punishing myself for what I'm not doing, having, or being. False expectations on myself and others, from others. Feeling and thinking I'm inferior. The idea I need to think, act, and feel a certain way in life. Thinking I need to live up to others' expectations, ideals. Judging others. Letting my ego rule my thoughts. Needing to know everything to be worthy or enough. Thinking I need to be a certain way. The need to be in control of every situation. The need to feel I should be happy every moment. Believing the judgments of myself and others. Labeling outcomes or situations as failures. Attachment to disappointment. Blaming myself and others. And suppressing my thoughts and emotions. That's a big list, isn't it? But I'm very proud and happy that I realized that all those things were not serving me in my life, and they were holding me back from being my authentic self and being the person that I want to be. So I've released all those, and some of them still come up, but I know how to let go of them again. So now I'd like to share what I replaced them with. I've replaced them with gratitude, self-compassion, aligning with my values, connection to self, communication, vulnerability, trust in myself, courage, authenticity, possibility, accountability, empathy and compassion, presence, integrity, humility, curiosity, kindness, serving and helping others, and using my mind and my heart at the same time. Instead of trying to allow my ego and my mind to rule how I was living, I realized that I needed to incorporate my heart into my mind and what I was doing in my life, so that the working is one. So I'm going to share what my news story is. And before I do that, I will just mention, after I share that, I'm going to go through a sequence that may help you to let go, if you choose. And if you'll give me permission to walk you through that, to guide you through that, then I would love to do that right now after I read this. So if you have somewhere you need to go, or you're not in a quiet spot right now, I invite you to come back later and watch this, because if you're ready to let go, I would like to help you do that right now. So this is my news story. I am enough for who I am because I have compassion and empathy for myself and others. I am imperfect and accept myself for my strengths and my imperfections. I am worthy of having inner peace and happiness. I give myself permission to accept outer happiness because I'm grateful for being me and for the life I have. I am loved and have priceless value in this world. I am irreplaceable. I trust and believe in myself so that I can have courage to learn and grow without attachment to an outcome. I am free. This is what goes through my mind every day. And when that's going through my mind, I'm empowered, and I'm living in my authentic self, and I'm living free. I'm not trapped by the thoughts that made me feel like I was in a prison every single day. And I'm not holding on to resentment. I'm just free to be me and to connect with myself and to connect with others. So now, and what did I get from that? That's actually what I would like to mention right now. What did I get from that? From changing my story, from letting go of the different things that did not serve me, and to forgive myself. What did I get from that? I got clarity, I got empowerment, and I got freedom. Those are three powerful things that will continue to drive me throughout my life. And as long as I keep reframing and keep letting go of the things that don't serve me, and keep living with the story that I now own, I'm free and I'm unstoppable. And that's what I want to help other people do. So if you're ready, I would love to be able to help you to let go. And it all starts with asking the question, what do you want? So as we've been discussing the topics around self-judgment, perfection, shame, guilt, worthiness, enough, insecurity, and now forgiveness. And maybe you have something specific that you've been wanting to let go of for a long time. So I'll take a moment and ask you right now, what do you want? What do you want to let go of? And what will having that do for you? What will that do for you in your life? For me, when I let go of all those things I just described, that it gave me freedom, it gave me empowerment, and there's nothing better than that. So what will having that do for you in your life? And what is it costing you? What is it costing you right now to hold on to whatever it is that you're holding on to? I explained what it was costing me. It cost me my connection with myself. It cost me my connection with others. It cost me my sacrificing, being my authentic self. So who do you want to show up as every day in your life? And why is letting go so hard? It's because we're afraid. We're afraid that this place that we have, it's been a place of stability, and it's helped us when we've been hurt or when we've been struggling with something. But on the other side is something so much greater. So if you know what it is that you want, and you know what having that will do for you in your life, and why it's important, why is it important for you to let go of that? And what is it costing you? So now the important step is to look at what you would like to be experiencing instead. I gave a list of the things that I substituted when I let go of my scroll of things that I was holding on to. But in regards to what it is that you want, what would you like to be experiencing instead? I'm sure you don't want the shame or guilt associated with whatever it is. I know that for myself, what I would like to be experiencing is um, authenticity, connection. I embrace vulnerability now. It allows me to be open and to be able to share with an open heart and to be myself and not worry about judgment from myself or others. And when that judgment comes up, I can accept it and I can just let it go. So I'd like to ask you, if you're ready to let go, is there any part of you that has any objections to what it is that you want? And just take a moment. Is there any part of you that objects to letting go? Because you know what it's costing you, you know what you want, and you know what having that will do for you. And you know what you want to be feeling instead. Because I'm sure by holding on to whatever it is that you're holding on to, you don't want to be feeling or thinking the way that you are right now. You'd rather be thinking or feeling in the way that you want. And what way is that? Just take a moment and think about that. How would you like to be experiencing what it is that you want? Whether it's with thoughts or feelings, how would you like to be experiencing that? And like I said, sometimes we're just not ready to let go, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's no shame or guilt associated with that. But I'm trying to guide you to let go. So if you're ready, if you know what it is that you want, what having that will do for you, and why it's important to you, and what you'd like to be experiencing instead, I'd like to invite you to let go right now. I share with you the process of acknowledging accepting, and having awareness for it. And that is the first step to releasing any shame or guilt that we have associated with whatever it is that we're wanting to let go of. And once we know what it's costing us and what we want instead, it's our choice. It's our choice to let go. And I will guide you to doing that right now. And I would love to know what you experience afterwards, because I will share what I experienced. So this is you. This is what you're holding on to. Sorry, this is what you're holding on to. This is you. And if you want to let go, let go. For me, what I experienced when I wanted to let go, I had this feeling in my heart that it was like a release. I felt lighter. I felt like there was a weight lifted off of me. And I'm not gonna lie, it was emotional. My head felt clear for the first time in a long time. And there's no other feeling like that in the world. It was the feeling of freedom. So I'd love to find out if this was something that you were able to let go of, or if you weren't ready yet. And like I said, if you weren't ready yet, there's no shame in that, because it's a process that we go through. So if you weren't ready yet, what could be a few steps that you could take in order to move along the process towards letting go of whatever it is that you want to let go of? And if you need help with that, send me a message. And if you want to post anything in the comments towards things I've been discussing or in regards to letting go, please comment. I encourage that. So next session, I'm going to be discussing the topic of fear, and that will be the last session of this letting go series. And if you did decide to let go, I would have one ask for you, which is to start thinking about what steps you can take in order to when those things come up again, you're able to just let go of it. You're able to accept it, acknowledge it, and have awareness for it. And then just let go of it again. So I just want to thank you so much for watching, and I hope this was helpful for you. And again, I'm always here for support. If you have any comments or feedback, don't hesitate to let me know. I wish you a wonderful night. Take care.